This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Knowing you could be saving money for the things you really want, like that dream house or ride, is a great feeling. That's why the State Farm Personal Price Plan can help you save when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
People skip breakfast. That's like a huge issue. I think people want to do kind of what they're already doing, but they're like, no, because I'm labeling it this, and there's like a specific protocol and, some air quotes science around it, it's going to work. Do you ever feel yourself drawn towards fad diets, weird ways of eating or training or biohacking because of promises made or just the desire to be healthier or make improvements in some way? I'm Meredith. This is the Afternoon Snack Podcast, and today we're going to talk about the anti-diet. We're going to talk about how to avoid falling into those fad diet traps, intermittent fasting, things like this, and how to properly assess where your goals are coming from, what they are, and then how to be productive with moving towards them, keeping in mind that sustainability and adaptability really are the hallmarks of success when it comes to fitness, nutrition, and really everything. We'll leave you with some practical goals and takeaways to implement some basic strategies into your life, including a very unorthodox idea for a diet. I just had a thought, and this is not what we just agreed to open with. We'll get to it, don't worry. But you said, are you good leading this guy, meaning the podcast? Because you anthropomorphize. Is that right?
Yeah, anthropomorphize.
That
doesn't sound right either.
You give non-human things human attributes, like pets and vacuum cleaners.
Yes.
Anthropomorphize, is that it?
Yeah, it is. Anthropomorphize. It means attributing human-like qualities, emotions, or behaviors to something that's not a human entity.
Right. Like the pets and the vacuum cleaner we just got.
Yeah.
And apparently our podcast, which is a guy. What I was thinking though, because it came up recently because you used the word guys in an Instagram post, which is a gendered term. The English language is so limited in that it's so binary, which I guess is probably the case for a lot of languages. But I was just thinking so alternative to guys, folks. I use folks a lot, especially in writing. Y'all, that works for me. Doesn't really work for you.
I have to use all.
All. Hello, all. But that sounds like you're in a bad mood. Hi, all. Instead of hey, guys.
It's very email.
Yeah. You're like, oh, God. That gives me like a shiver up my spine.
You can use people.
People.
Everybody.
Yep. But of those, how many have singulars that work with them? Like guys, guy. Girls, girl. Gals, gal.
Folk.
Folks, folk. Folk is an adjective. It's like folk music.
Yeah.
The singular of folks.
I think all the singular would be you. Hey, you.
What about y'all?
It would be hey, yo, you.
Yeah. Hey, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. But I feel like in my brain, guy or guys is gender neutral. That's what I know. I understand that some people don't feel that way, but that's how I feel.
I think, I think in English, it's certainly, especially in like North American English, I think it's sort of used in a gender neutral way, but like,
because I would refer to a group of women who are my friends, maybe not in a professional setting, but if I had 3 of my girlfriends over, not my actual girlfriends, I don't have any of those, just one. if I had my girlfriend over and I was talking to her and you and a couple of other female friends, I would say, do you guys want something to eat?
Yeah.
But none of you identify as male.
I think it's because there's not a women's equivalent that is as casual as guys.
I think it's gals, but no one uses that.
Yeah. I think, but here's the thing, and I think this is where the argument becomes problem. It's like guys is you're like, no, guys is okay, guys is normal, guys is casual. It's not pejorative in any way. Gals, girls, there's like a negative connotation there. And like, but is it negative because it isn't used, or is it negative because it's feminine? And I think that's where the debate sort of takes place. And then that, I think that you get into the roots of
I think
language
context plays a big role. For instance, if someone were to say, hey girls, it depends on who it is. Like if my mom were to say, we're going to go see the girls, like Alex and Meredith, that doesn't bother me. It would, and then if I were to, I'm sure that some men being called boys, there's a difference between being called a boy and boys, depending on who it's from. If like, for instance, I know men who will refer to their friend group as the boys. But if I were to email a couple of men and say, hey boys, that would be problematic. So I think context plays a big role. And I think boys and girls are similar. Gals could be kind of like guys, except gals isn't used as frequently.
Okay.
I don't think it's the fact that it's feminine.
When someone says, I'm going to hang with the boys, what's the image that you conjure up?
Something I just don't want to be a part of.
Well, just like, what is it?
I don't know. Just like shooting the shit, like playing b-ball, drinking beer, hanging out, maxing, relaxing, all cool.
Okay.
All shooting some beat ball
Stay on topic.
of school.
If someone says, I'm going to go hang out with the girls, what does that conjure up?
Depends on the girl.
Answer the question. Just generally.
Okay. I mean, I guess sitting around, this is going to sound so negative, but like gossiping, maybe drinking wine, maybe what you might see when you watch something like Housewives.
Exactly.
Unfortunately. Unfortunately, and I hate to admit
Hold on to that. Is it then...
These are leading questions.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
I'm making a point. I'm lawyering.
I know. You're not supposed to... That's not good lawyering.
I'm painting the prosecution. Is it then understandable to think like, because boys, I'm going to go hang with the boys, conjures up a mental image that's less like negative than girls? Is it then understandable why a gender neutral term that isn't actually gender neutral would head in the direction of the boys and not the girls?
Yes.
I rest my case.
Okay. I just want the audience to know that these conversations happen all of the time.
Yeah. I should have done more debate
and
club.
I'm almost embarrassed to share a conversation like that with the audience.
I think it's reasonable because I think it's fine. I think using the word guys, that's fine. It doesn't bother me. I understand it.
Yes, some people are going to have an issue with it. I'm fine with some people taking issue with it in certain contexts.
But think about it. Like, you're fine with like the girls. I hate that universally.
Okay.
Like, unless it's the neighbor boys who are actually boys who mow our grass and they refer to us as the girls. That's fine.
Okay.
That's cute.
See, context is important.
Right. But adults, don't do that.
What if my mom says to her friend, I'm going to go visit the girls?
I just don't want to hear about that because I hate it.
You don't like it either.
No, it's like puts me
here's the
in
thing.
the wrong position.
If somebody doesn't like me saying guys on Instagram, referring to all of our followers who identify as all different types of people.
Yeah.
Knowing that I am referring to everybody and we are a inclusive page, I struggle when people take issue with that. I don't actually struggle. I just think if somebody has a problem, take it as their problem, move on. Like, it's, for me, Instagram is different. This is a free thing. I'm trying to speak naturally when I do posts because that's when they come out best. And I speak naturally by using the word guys to refer to a large group of people or even a small group. If one of my friends were to say, hey, Alex, I actually don't like that you refer to us as guys, it bothers me, then I would probably stop doing it.
Yeah.
But there's a difference for me. It's like something about Instagram, and maybe it's just the history of so many people having an issue with everything you say.
Yeah.
It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. There's always going to be something. And at some point you just get to a point where you say, I'm doing what I'm doing. And if you don't like it, leave.
Yeah.
You can't please everybody.
Right. But even in that post, like the effort then to use inclusive language, like for the remainder of the post when possible, like using the word people instead of women, which is something that I think we both do. That's so easily overlooked because like the one word was said. But like you said, if someone has an issue with that in person, you can have the conversation respectfully and explain your stance instead of being like, you guys suck, you're contributing to sexism, yada, yada, yada. Like,
It's not inclusive.
I'm just going to start using, my favorite one is the Brits. When they go, you lot, you lot. We're going to bring that to North America.
Feel like that's, if you're not actually British, that can come off as rude.
Can it?
I'm getting a rude vibe.
Okay.
Because you're not British.
Look, I'm going to pilot it. Let's see how it goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're British, you can get away with a lot.
Like you lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not British, it can be harsh.
Yeah.
That's my like guess here.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Play with it.
Okay. I'm going to explore the space.
Okay. Topic for today.
We're going to do like a guide to how to not tactics. Got Alex and Meredith's guide to not fasting and doing other bullshit from the internet. Working title.
That hit hard.
Did it?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I'll title the episode that.
Yes.
Maybe we'll come up with a cheat sheet.
Maybe. Funny enough, I was actually hanging out with a friend who happened to be a former client of ours.
Yeah.
One-on-one coaching. And he said that the thing that got him to join was a post that we did about fasting and how, well, that we're not really proponents of fasting, especially in the way that it is done by people now. And I think that a light went on in his brain because he fasts.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, like, in quotes, working. And a lot of what we said made sense. So in order to help him make changes, he hired a coach.
Here's the thing, and we'll get into this in more detail, but I think a lot of people, so intermittent fasting and other bullshit, but we'll talk about intermittent fasting. A lot of people do that by just like skipping their first meals of the day, like not eating until noon.
Sounds horrible.
People do that already. People skip breakfast. That's like a huge issue. And then maybe they snack or eat some bullshit at like 10:30 a.m. But they're like, oh, I guess I'll get rid of my snacks at 10:30 and just wait until noon to start eating bullshit. And then, but so it's like I think people want to do kind of what they're already doing, but they're like, no, because I'm labeling it this and there's like a specific protocol and, some air quotes science around it, it's going to work. But it's like, no.
Do you remember when we were on the demo team?
Oh.
And it was 3 of us girls. So you, me, and I can't remember the other one. Chelsea. And then the boys, I'm calling them the boys.
Yeah.
Was Paul.
Yep.
James and
Chris Harris.
Uh-huh. So there were 6 of us, and we kind of had to travel around as a pack in case we were needed. And you're there for a few days leading up, and then you're there for the entirety of the games.
Yeah.
And you kind of are just basically on call the entire time. It's very hectic, and you're there the whole, like, it's just a lot. And we would get up very early in the morning, and the leader was Paul because he had been on the demo team so many times before. He was the one driving the bus. He was the one who had contacts with Dave, and he didn't eat breakfast, which basically meant we didn't eat breakfast. And all the boys apparently practiced intermittent fasting. All the girls did not.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even see straight for the mornings. Basically, as soon as we got to the venue, our goal was to find food.
Yes. It's what you asked me the other day, what's the hungriest you've ever been? I actually think it was then. I actually think it was like that whole experience was just like hunger.
Yeah.
It was wild.
We would go for dinner and they would order so much food. It was actually like, it was hard to watch.
Yeah.
The eating
But
habits.
Didn't Paul eat so much sushi he like ruptured his appendix or something?
Yeah, but he also said one time he ate so much sushi he threw up in his sleep and woke up with puke in his mouth.
Yeah, right. I remember that.
So like that's another check for don't intermittent fast, especially if you're somebody who needs to eat a lot.
You just I love that's Paul, a huge. I know what a guy.
That was a problem.
Yeah,
for me, the eating.
And we'll talk about that. Okay, so let's go back. Let's backtrack. That's us. That's the sound effect for backtracking. Like okay. Intermittent fasting and other bullshit, but let's focus on fasting. I think the question that you have to start with is, why do you want to do it? And most often, I would say, people want to solve a problem or an implied problem or make something easier or make something go away, or they heard someone say it. They heard that it confers some health benefit that will make their life better. I think those are the two things predominantly. So I guess what makes you want to intermittent fast? Maybe you've like fallen into the biohacking, bio bro part of the internet, and they're using words like apoptosis.
Wait, there's a lot. There's biohacking femmes out there too.
Oh, we're getting to the biohacking femmes. Okay. We're getting to Rhonda Patrick. Give me a minute. I was a big Rhonda Patrick fan. Do you remember that?
Then she just started getting so crazy.
She just grifted into
I think I said to you, if you start eating salmon eggs, we're done.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
Unless they come on sushi at a restaurant.
Yeah.
And outside of that, unacceptable.
You don't even let me get the salmon eggs on the sushi. You don't even let me get the eggs.
I know.
Okay.
They have a weird texture.
They do. I like how they like pop in your mouth. It's like nature's pop rocks. Anyways, the flavors aren't quite as delicious. So, okay, biohacking, bio bros, and biohacking, what's the women's bro? Is there? Bruh.
I don't know. Femme came to mind.
Bio bras, femme hacking. Yeah, and again, like a lot of that's occurring in the hormonal space, menopausal space, and you see both arguments. Intermittent fast. Or like definitely don't intermittent fast. Mm-hmm. But anyways, there are certainly pockets of the internet where people fall into, and it becomes this thing like, oh, I need to do this because of apoptosis and cell turnover and programmed cell death and all of these things. It'll make me healthier. How do you define health? Like, I think this is a huge problem, and the main argument with biohacking and all these like fringe health techniques is, what's the end goal? Is the end goal to be Dave Asprey and live until you're 150?
I think people are under the impression that controlling your diet, whatever that means, it could mean many different diets. It could mean excluding 100 different foods or one main group of foods, means healthier.
Yeah.
I think that is a general acceptance in our society. Like, the more that you control your diet, or if you have to control your diet in some way for you to qualify as healthy or like paying attention to your nutrition. It has to be something that is, and that the more rules, the better. It means you care more.
Yes. there's a morality component to it. I think that's a huge part of the conversation, aside from actually just wanting to be healthier, is people have this desire to assign morality to things that then allow them to adhere to a moral code that they're setting in place. And there's a bigger topic there with kind of the rise of individualism and the move away from like structured moral communities like religions and whatnot that's been going on for like hundreds of years. So people kind of make their own little religions.
Stay posted for Meredith's blog on that.
Yeah, I'm in it. I'm like, I've got it going. It's there. It's a spider web right now. I got to bring it back.
So.
Yeah, so there's definitely a moral component, and people have this urge to over-identify with the things that they choose and to control it and to allow for the ability to control it and to make decisions, then becomes a framework for good and bad. And so then the more control you can exert and the more good choices you can make, the more good you are, and the more bad people who are making different choices are. So there's like the morality component. But then with the health thing, there are some people out there who legitimately just want to be healthy, and they think that this is like the goal to getting, or a way to get there. But I think
by messaging.
Well, right.
There's we're not holding that against anyone.
No.
It's thrown in our faces everywhere.
And it's possible too, if someone is just off the couch, no concern really for their diet at all, and they start intermittent fasting. And then what tends to happen when you start any diet, regardless of what it is there's kind of a compulsory improvement of food quality that occurs along with it. Because you're like, it's hard to care about just one thing, like just the timing. There's often improvement with, because you're caring about the timing, you're like, oh, I better eat a salad, or I better, you're doing more cooking at home, or whatever it is. So there's like these subtle changes that are positive, but not necessarily directly associated with something like a fasting window. So it is possible that someone would experience some health benefits that are associated with, quote unquote, intermittent fasting, even if those health benefits are really the result of changes that are independent of the feeding time.
Another example would be having a protein shake post-workout.
Right.
People will think, oh, post-workout gains, I'm improving my health and my protein intake and gaining more muscle because I've added a protein shake post-workout. Window of gains.
Yeah.
When really, it doesn't matter when you consume the protein. It's the fact that you've increased protein.
Right.
It just makes it easier for people to take it in after a workout because they think there's an associated benefit. And there is a small one, but not enough to make a huge difference.
Yeah. So without the protein shake, you're not meeting your protein needs. With the protein shake, you are.
It doesn't really matter that you're taking it after a workout.
Right. And there's tons of research on that shows that correlation, that protein timing, when you control for amount per day, there's no difference really. And then same thing with fasting, when you control for macronutrient breakdown, total calories, even things like micronutrients in the diet. And the only thing that's different between each dieting group is the timing, is the feeding window. One group's on a normal feeding schedule and the other one's on intermittent fasting. There's no difference. There's actually a slight positive effect to eating at normal intervals from a not necessarily like results standpoint, but mental well-being. It's just easier. Okay, so I think it's similar to the financial conversation that we had a while back, where in order to not feel fear around food choices and nutrition and how those things relate to your health, you kind of have to get in touch with what that means and what the end goal actually is. It's like with finances, if your only goal is to make as much money as possible because you hope that will one day be enough, it'll never feel like enough, because enough is just a cone that keeps getting kicked down the road. It's the same thing goes with these health interventions. If you don't know where it is that you're going or what you're aiming at, it's so easy to just become like more and more of a maniac with more restrictive diets, different diet food choices, like some of these really weird biohacking, like, protocols. All of a sudden you're taking 160 supplements a day. Like people get there. And it's like, do you have any idea where it is that you're trying to go? Or you're just trying to optimize because like things can be optimized, but then the optimization itself is exhausting and it takes you away from life.
Yeah. That makes me think of one other podcast topic, which is the word more. versus the word enough.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like I should be doing more.
You
and
can,
that's kind of how a lot of people can be with nutrition.
yeah.
More until you can't even enjoy your life.
Yeah.
And that's where I think this can be impactful in a negative way. I think paying attention to your nutrition, it goes positive for a certain period of time and a certain amount of effort, but then it hits a point, and it depends on the person and their life. It hits a point where it starts impacting their lifestyle. Right. And some people, they're fine with it, or some people, they think they're fine with it, or they're fine with it for a certain period of time. But then it gets to a point where nutrition starts trumping everything. It becomes like the most important thing, or a very important thing for you. And then your lifestyle and your happiness and your community and your connection, those are the big ones around nutrition, are impacted, or other things that your brain could be thinking about. Mm-hmm. Because you're constantly thinking about food now. And
then it becomes like, well, what's the point? Because in order for that to be like such a huge thing, you have to let go of everything that really makes life worth living.
And so, it's just food.
Right. Yeah, it's not an end-all be-all. Like, food is not the sole determiner of health.
I think there's a word that I really liked, and it wasn't necessarily... It's like you want to live as long as possible, as well as possible.
Yeah.
And it's like you can... And the way I conceptualize this, because I don't need to justify my diet. I don't have the healthiest diet. I will admit that. And part of it is being an endurance athlete. It's hard to get in a ton of food in all super healthy.
I would challenge the word use there. Healthy.
Yeah. Healthy is subjective. I guess I eat a lot of foods that aren't nutrient dense.
Yep.
Or that people would, or processed types of foods, which everything is processed. I know you can't really describe a diet.
Yeah. I
eat things that most people would describe as not nutrient dense.
You're eating for a lot of times for calories.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I conceptualize my diet in thinking, okay, I still want to live a long time. So I'm going to care about my diet. I still want to have good days and feel energized. So I care about my quality and my quantity of my diet to a limit. Yeah. I don't want to live till I'm 100 and get an extra 20 years, but have to be so obsessed about food that I can't even live my life. Mm-hmm. Which I've been there. I have actually been there, and it has impacted my relationships. It's impacted my sport because I've been so concerned about what I'm eating that I don't eat enough. And then I get reds and then I don't have my period for 8 months. And I mean, there's a whole slew of other things. You can't even enjoy going out.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of my memories around that time are associated with me trying to find food.
Uh-huh.
Like, that's not what you want.
No.
I mean, yes, there's a planning aspect and it's setting yourself up for success to a degree, but you don't want to like not eat something and go hungry because it's not made from home. You didn't measure it. It's got something in it that you have a rule against eating for no other reason other than that you just feel like rules are a good thing.
Right.
And they make you feel safer.
Right. Yes, I completely agree with that. So I think there's obviously a lot that contributes to health, but the things that people, I would say when they're targeting, like if you actually got people to say their health goals, some of the most common ones, I would say are associated with longevity. Like, I just want to live as long as possible. I want to be able to keep up with my grandkids. I don't want to feel like my diet is contributing like negatively to my health. And that's totally fair. I think there's definitely a like cholesterol concern for a lot of people. And diet can help with that. And a lot of the fasting research and attention has been on that, in that sort of realm. What else? Weight management. I would say that's one that is often associated with health, even though they don't necessarily like directly connect.
What about blood sugar?
I mean, that blood sugar in spikes, or like, are we talking about people who are diabetic?
No, we're talking about people who aren't diabetic, who are worried about blood sugar. Like, that's like managing blood sugar levels is a goal that some people have. And that is sometimes associated with fasting.
Yes. Yeah. Right. There's the belief that blood sugar like spikes, so postprandial blood glucose increase, is a contributing factor to developing type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. When it's not. There's definitely an element with type 2 diabetes of a loss of blood glucose control, like a loss of insulin sensitivity. But just because that's a trend that you see in a diseased population does not mean that that is an unnatural or a thing that you should try to avoid in everyday eating. A body that responds normally to insulin is perfectly capable of regulating blood glucose spikes. They're totally normal. They don't need to be avoided.
So tell that how much would it cost for you to say that straight to the glucose goddess's face?
$0. I just put me in front of her.
I knew that was going to be your answer.
Yeah. There's a lot of money to be made on selling that. And again, because it gives people such an easy target to avoid something that they're so afraid of. When you can avoid blood glucose spikes and still overeat and underexercise into chronic disease. That's 100% possible. That's the wrong thing to be looking at. That's not a corrective tool. It's a measurement to be used in a very specific population. You could argue there's an application for continuous glucose monitors in like in athletics when you're looking at glucose uptake in endurance athletes. But even that, like there's so many individual factors that contribute to bioenergetics and glucose metabolism, even in endurance athletes, that it's hard to understand. Like they're still doing research and trying to understand how to use that information appropriately, like how to action it, because just because it looks one way for one athlete doesn't mean it's going to look one way for another. So it's like almost a biological passport, which relies on generating personalized data and using your data in the way that it should be used instead of blanket approach. And that's so hard when the gains to be made by doing that might be just very marginal. So then it becomes not worth the effort.
And then again, what is it taking away from?
Right. The performance.
Focusing on just your training and trying harder and improving your fitness and having the mental capacity to push. Also, my take on endurance sports now, based on what are some things coming out, not only anecdotally, but in this research, is basically just try to eat as many carbs as you can.
Pasta every single meal.
And also during.
Yeah.
Like during the numbers are just going up, 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 like what is ideal.
Well, especially...
And then the science is saying something, and then you'll get somebody who basically sets the record for an Ironman bike course, who's consuming 200 grams of carbs.
Like an hour.
An hour.
Yeah, but also, there's the delivery, so there's the carbs that are available and the... basically the advances in sports nutrition, and then also research on things like sodium uptake and how that contributes to glucose uptake. Like the triathlete who was consuming 200 plus grams an hour, like everybody gets stuck on that number, but look at the dude's sodium intake over that race. It's astronomically high, like higher than you would take in sodium normally. And it's to help with glucose. Like people are willing to do these sort of fringy things and test it out, and that's fine as long as you're safe about it. And you're kind of finding what we thought was the limit is like middle of the road.
I mean, even the other day I was doing a carb load before Calgary, and I was with you and Lindsay, and I was thinking, okay, so if my goal is 550 grams carbs, and I'm feeling pretty good throughout the day, like taking in a good amount of carbs and the foods that I like. And I'm like, I could just keep going and going and going. So I asked you, what's the upper limit? And you and Lindsay were like, there isn't one. The upper limit will not be achieved by you. And I was like, challenge accepted. And I ended up landing around 550 because that's what my body could start to digest, especially later in the day.
Yeah.
And it's true. It's like, maybe that is that's where more is better, because the limiting factor isn't what your body can utilize, especially if you're using the right breakdown of carbs and, like you said, adding sodium, and then there's the hydration status. But it's your gut, and then it's just being able to consume it. Like how you can focus on that high of an effort on the bike and be consuming carbs like that is mind-boggling.
Yeah, and there's the fitness side of it too. Like you can't just take in 200 plus grams of carbs and be like, I'm going to win an Ironman. Like you also have to be really, really fit and not limited
and you
by.
have to train your gut.
Right. Yes. There's a lot of things that go to that, but there's definitely a real carb focus and endurance. The people are real into nutrition right now, which is great. It's cool.
There's still those people who are like, nah.
I'll just take
I'm going to be fat adapted because that's going to make me faster.
I'm just going to take a gel for this, just one gel for this race. Yeah. Okay.
Or ketones. Are there any people out there still doing that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. So assuming you can define the health metrics that you're after, the question then becomes, what are you doing right now, baseline, to address those issues or move yourself in a productive direction? The answer is often not a whole lot. And I guess they should say, what are you doing with consistency? Not a ton. Like, have you tried more basic implementations of like nutrition structure, macros, maybe not even tracking, just understanding macros, things like that? Because from a diet standpoint, the things that contribute to positive health outcomes are very basic, but you have to know a little bit about nutrition. Like total calorie intake, like on average, needs to be considered. Macronutrients need to be in a specific ballpark. Micronutrients, like you need to be eating diverse foods, you need to be drinking water, things like that. It sounds really easy, but it becomes a bit of a chore. It can be a bit of a chore if you're just starting out. And if you haven't been able to establish good diet patterns at baseline, when you have access to 3 to 4 meals per day, especially getting in enough protein, you're not likely to be able to do it when you're limiting yourself to 6 to 8 hours to get all your food in for the day. Like you're making your life from a being productive with nutrition standpoint unnecessarily difficult. You're making it really hard to check important boxes. And it's because there's an overemphasis on the importance of timing and an underemphasis on the importance of things that actually matter, like calorie intake and macronutrients.
Mm-hmm. So a question that I imagine will feel common or relatable is, if you intermittent fast and you reduce the number of hours in your eating window and your goal is to lose weight, so in that case you want to eat less, how does that backfire?
It backfires most commonly from a sustainability standpoint. I would say that's pretty much where the research lands on it. If you compare calorie controlled diets, intermittent fast versus just regular, the difficulty people have with intermittent fasting is the sustainability part of it. And then once they stop fasting, they often resume old ways of eating, where the regular, like the normal diet pattern group, not only do they adhere to the diet longer when it's like self-managed, when they just get to, and that's what the research is. It's like, here's the diet, go. And all they want to know is how long people will do it. That's like what the research is. So people who are eating at regular windows and at a regular frequency sustain a diet for longer. And then once they're quote unquote off the diet, they don't necessarily resume the old way of eating. They retain bits of it moving forward. So I don't think it backfires because there's anything nefarious about fasting, even though like I can't do it. I think it backfires because people it's too hard.
What fasting window are we talking about? Because I think from my experience in working with people and seeing a lot of different people's eating habits, not eating breakfast isn't uncommon. It's actually quite convenient for a lot of people. And so saying, okay, now you're going to intermittent fast, people are like, that's a great diet for me because I don't really have to change that much.
Exactly. They call it something and they apply a little bit of effort and they're like, no, this is going to be different. I was like, no, you're already doing that.
Exactly. So when you say from a sustainability standpoint, are we talking about a smaller window of eating or a different window of eating?
It's not the window that creates the sustainability. It is the window that creates a sustainability problem. You have to also remember these are calorie controlled diets. Mm-hmm. So if you look at a different body
controlled outside of the fact that you just can't eat. Some people can't eat as much in a smaller window.
Right.
Or they're also calorie controlled on top of that.
They're on top of, so it's this research is essentially, one group that is eating 3 to 4 meals per day, normal eating pattern. But let's say they
calorie controlled.
Control it at a set number of calories per day. Group 2, same calories, different feeding window, different time. And so the calories, they're like restricted calories. These are both sort of oriented around weight loss. There's an increase in reported hunger, decrease in mood, increase in irritability. A lot of these things that make a diet feel unsustainable shows up in the intermittent fasting group, doesn't show up as readily in the regular group. So when you look at intermittent fasting through a different lens, you can look at it through like a reverse time restricted eating. So this is where you start to look at, okay, what if we compare regular eating with intermittent fasting, like late time restricted, so starting eating at like lunchtime, but also then compare that to the inverse. So instead of starting to eat at lunchtime, you wake up and you start eating basically immediately and you stop eating at 4 p.m. or something like that. What you see is from a biological standpoint, if people are very concerned with insulin response, is you see better insulin sensitivity in the morning. So the people who are eating early in the day, so the early time restricted people have the best postprandial glucose response when compared to the standard eating schedule and the late time restricted. And then you also see that those people, especially when they're front loading their eating, so they're eating a bigger breakfast, a bigger lunch, and a smaller dinner, they experience fewer cravings throughout the day. They experience lower rates of irritability, improved mood, and fewer cravings late in the day.
And probably improved food quality, because think about the food quality you eat, most of us, in the early part of the day versus like after dinner or dinner, like alcohol even. That's not typically consumed by most people in the first half of the day.
Yeah.
So if you're fasting after 4 p.m., then maybe you're cutting out things like alcohol.
Yeah.
And fries, things that are higher in calories, and again, that's different if you're not controlling for calories.
Yeah. And this is the interesting thing about the research with the early time restricted is they've also done it where they are not controlling for calories and they're just looking ad libitum, let people eat what they want to eat, however much they want. What is the impact on calorie control? People who are front loading and early time restricting with their eating basically just control their calories. Like it becomes by like hundreds of calories per day, they eat less. And a lot of that is associated, they think, with food selection, food quality differences between morning and evening. And then also because of the insulin response and what that does to blood glucose control later in the day, you are seeing fewer cravings. So even if certain foods were available earlier in the day, it's likely that the person just wouldn't go for them because they're not feeling as, tired and hungry, and they're not experiencing the energy fluctuations that are associated with certain eating patterns compared to the people who start eating at like lunch. Because not only they're starting eating at lunch, they're battling being awake for however many hours without eating, what that does to blood glucose, what that does to insulin, and you're choosing to consume food at a time of day where your body is less adept at dealing with the food. Mm-hmm. Like we're biologically wired to eat in the morning, if possible, to eat as far away from biological nighttime, like approaching biological nighttime as possible. But the way that people time restricted, the way that people intermittent fast is the opposite of that.
Yeah. I think that some people, and again, this is more practical, they like the idea of intermittent fasting because number one, breakfast is an inconvenient time of day to eat. And then secondly, they can feel like they don't have to manage their meals later in the day as much because they are basically for the day in a calorie deficit because they have skipped a meal. And so, and we see this with people who might eat breakfast, but then they skip lunch and then they get around 4 or 5 p.m. and I didn't eat lunch, so I'll just go raid the pantry. Or even subconsciously, they're not even thinking about the fact that they didn't eat lunch. They're just eating snacks or eating as you prepare dinner without really even acknowledging that you're eating all of these snacks. Mm-hmm. And you're actually consuming more calories by skipping lunch than you would if you were to just eat a solid lunch and get to dinner not just starving.
Yeah. I mean, there's a correlation between, I can't remember how the study was actually designed, but from a food selection standpoint, there's actually so much research on how people select food. Like there's organizations that they don't care about how much you eat. They don't care about the macros. They just want to know what drives food selection. And people who skip breakfast are more likely to order dinner out. You're less likely to eat at home if you skip breakfast, which is kind of nutty because a lot of people skip breakfast because I don't know, it's some sort of, like you said, like fasting, it's going to improve the diet. Mm-hmm. And it's not to say you can't eat out and have a decent diet, but it's harder. It's like there are things that you don't even notice if you're under-fueled in the early and middle part of the day. You're going to get to the evening. You're not going to want to stand in your kitchen and chop up peppers to make a stir fry. You're not going to want to do that. Other options are going to seem more appealing than they would if you were not as hungry and underfueled at that particular time.
So what I'm gathering here is time-restricted eating, whether it's intentional or just something that works better for your schedule and works better for your hunger cues, can be fine. It can be fine as long as you are, depending on your goals, for most people, getting in enough protein, focusing on food quality, making sure they're eating enough for them. That could mean, enough for sustainable weight loss or enough for supporting their athletic endeavors or just enough to support daily energy. There are a lot of things to consider within intermittent fasting. There's nothing that makes it that bad. It can just lead to issues that are overlooked.
Yep.
And the fact that you can define the diet means it's good, or it can create an illusion that it's in quote good or healthy. Just like, and I don't want to get into this, but vegetarianism or veganism, just because you are not eating meat or not eating animal products doesn't mean your diet is quote good or supporting your goals. Even though a lot of people think, oh, it's healthy. But there's a lot of ways that you can go that aren't,
right?
Again, in quote, healthy. I think people kind of know what we're getting at when we say that at this point.
Productive. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. There's nothing that's inherently wrong with intermittent fasting, but there's definitely nothing that makes it distinctly better than just a normal eating pattern. And so that's where the question is like, what have you done? What are you doing? And have you tried a more basic approach? If the answer to that is no, and I mean like with consistency for long enough to properly assess it.
Yeah.
If the answer to that is no, go that route first. Like make your life easier. Don't make your life unnecessarily difficult just because like there's this shiny object over here and this person that's making all these promises. With that said, also, if you've heard this from someone on the internet, go to their profile. What does their profile say? Is like something expert or longevity, menopause, intermittent fasting expert. Is there something that in their profile that looks sort of like guru-y?
Are they selling, and again, there's, yeah, I guess, are they selling a book?
Yeah,
on
true.
this specific thing that is going to solve all of your problems?
Yeah, vet your sources. Mm-hmm. People who speak in absolutes about diet or really anything, tend to be intentionally leaving out nuance or context for a reason. And it's to sell you something, to sell you an idea, to sell you a program, just to get you on their page. Like, we live in that world.
Like, you have someone like Stacey Sims saying, you have to eat breakfast before you work out. The problem with that is, yes, eating before you work out can be a really great thing. I usually recommend that most people try that and see if they feel better, because when you work out, you utilize glycogen, and the more glycogen you have in your body, the better. It also it's the same thing. It's getting in something early in the morning to help with like cortisol and insulin, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So try it out. See if somebody is like, I get up at 4:30 in the morning to run at 5. Sorry, like, not going to do it.
Yeah.
And I get nauseous if I eat that early. That's fair. But I think what blanket statements like that can do is, if you have someone who's working out at 4:30 and they hear, oh, you have to eat something before you work out, otherwise your workout isn't productive, that creates another barrier to getting in a workout. When the workout is still going to be productive, even if you're someone that doesn't eat before,
right,
or doesn't like to eat, or has kids and can't.
Yep.
Or maybe you're on vacation and you don't have breakfast until after your workout. All of these things, like, we're not just stop creating roadblocks.
Yeah.
If the recommendation is to try to eat for all of these reasons, then suggest that.
Yes.
But it doesn't work for everybody. And I think that's kind of why, even though Huberman can be away, I don't listen to his podcast that often, at least he's saying, in this study, they said this. There very rarely are very like blanket statements. Yeah. I think they can be perceived sometimes as blanket statements, but they're not.
Yeah.
Whereas some of these more grifters, can make very absolute statements, which can scare people.
For sure. Definitely in how they end up on Instagram, which just is
clips
so
of
short.
Things.
Yeah.
Like one clip of an hour or 2 hour long podcast.
Yeah.
Saying one thing that is an absolute. That is what people consume.
Yeah.
And that is what potentially causes problems.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yep. There's a lot of people who deal with lack of hunger in the morning, especially if they've built the habit of skipping breakfast. And that's not a permanent state. I think people use that as an excuse to not, I can't eat because I'm just not hungry, or I get nauseous or whatever. That's a conditioned state. Like, for a human being to not be a little hungry in the morning is unusual, but that has a lot to do with your microbiome, and it operates on a schedule just like you do. And so if you're not eating in the morning hours routinely, your microbiome just kind of stops being super active. And there are correlations to hunger-related hormones like ghrelin and things like that. So, and if you throw a bunch of food at your stomach and your microbiome still sort of snoozing, that's not going to feel super good. So you kind of have to stepwise incorporate and start eating breakfast, and like small breakfast, then medium, then big, if you're looking to make that change.
I love breakfast. I feel like a bottomless pit. So I can just eat a giant meal and feel like I'm really fueling up. Yeah. And not get that after effect of I'm feeling, kind of full and sluggish.
Yes.
I feel like I'm really powered up for the day.
I think there's another group of people that focus on intermittent fasting, and it's the group of people who want to exert some control over their body. Mm-hmm. They want to use it as a tool specifically to lose weight, maybe to get fitter, to get more muscular, just to have some physical signs that they're dieting and working hard. Maybe they're in the gym. I don't know. So the series of questions there is also kind of the same. I would say anyone who has that set of desires, check in with why, where they're coming from. Again, do you know where the end goal is? Can you define that? Because if you can't, you're going to want to press pause, because you're about to get on like the most upsetting roller coaster of all time. But I would say for that group of people, calm down. What are you doing right now to make positive changes in multiple areas in your life? Again, have you done a more basic approach to nutrition with any consistency for any amount of time? And then what does your fitness practice look like? Because I think for anyone who has that goal, and this honestly, it goes for health people as well, people with more health related goals. I think almost ahead of diet, I think a movement, like a training goal, a movement goal. And I think that is especially important for the group of people who want to exert some control over their bodies, because one of the best ways that you can build a more positive relationship with your body is to train it and to move it and to lift weights and to build strength and to feel like you're being productive with it, because almost everyone, and like I am included in this too, and I think you probably are as well, when your movement practice goes away, if you're sick or if you're traveling or if you're injured or for some reason you just can't exercise with the same frequency or intensity, or you just feel like you're not there, it's really natural in our society to just start looking in the mirror and sort of aim. The aim goes from like, what am I doing with my body, to like my body. It becomes a very singular, it's easy for it to become a very singular focus on the body itself rather than what it's doing. So if you can put a goal or a practice in place to do something physical, it at least takes the edge off that a little bit and can help you be more productive and think more clearly with regards to nutrition and not be so nitty.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
It's also, I think, when somebody starts a movement practice and their mindset goes to, I'm doing something for my body and with my body, then, and that should be the mindset, not to should people, rather than a form of punishment or a way to earn your food. But if you can switch over to the mindset and framing of, I'm doing this for my body, I'm doing it because I love my body and I respect my body and I want it to do all these things for me, then it can impact your nutrition as well, because that mindset carries over to other areas of your life.
And you start to see the impact of nutrition on the training. Like if the training is not for specifically like physical change, and you start paying attention not to how I look in the mirror or what my weight is, but you start paying attention to what weight is on my bar, how am I performing in the gym, what you start to notice is that eating enough and being well fueled makes gym performance go through the roof. And so if that's the goal and that's what we're after, it just becomes this very positive feedback loop where you're like, hey, I work out better when I'm well fed. So I'm going to take care of my eating schedule and my macro breakdown or whatever. I'm going to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do to set myself up in the gym, because I feel really good when I work out, versus it being, a lot of taking away. And that just, it makes everything worse, even though it's so intuitive for, if the goal is weight loss, which is a very common goal, that's a lost goal. It's so intuitive to just take away versus add. Like they almost don't go together.
Yeah.
But it's like they do go together. And as soon as like dieters kind of realize like the fastest path to their goal is not taking away, it's adding. It's
adding
the gym,
fruits, adding vegetables, adding an exercise routine, adding in breakfast, adding in more sleep.
And it may not even be, the goal may shift away from weight loss, because you may see like, I love how I feel. I actually kind of dig how I look. And not only like my weight isn't going down, and that's fine because I'm happy. Or maybe it's gone up a little bit, and that's also fine because I'm happy and I feel like a badass. But you can't, I really think like the foot in the door to that is training.
Agreed.
It's not diet, it's training. And then after training, then you can start to say, what else can I do to add to this because I love it? Versus, intermittent fasting it's just taking away. It's taking away a whole.
I guess I'll do fewer hours of eating.
Yeah, it's all restricted. It's all restriction.
Someone told me once they did 4 hours eating window.
I would get sick.
Oh my gosh!
I couldn't. There's
yes,
no way.
you would, unless you're a professional eating competitor.
Yeah,
you're gonna lose weight, but that would be, and also what would you eat and with who?
Yeah.
That would be so hard, because food is also community and society and connection, and you're foregoing all of that. And yes, you can say for a period of time, but also, and this is an argument we've used often, what happens after?
Yeah.
What have you learned? Other than I have to just not eat for 20 hours a day to maintain my body weight. That's an awful way to educate yourself on nutrition. There's no education.
No.
It's anti-education.
Well, and so much of it is built on fallacy too. Like people will say, well, this is the way that, our ancestors didn't eat 4 meals per day. They would eat like 1 big meal per day. And so if it worked for them and they were healthy and whatever, then it's going to work for me. But look at our ancestors. Like, I think the average height of a human being back in the day was probably like 5'4".
Yeah.
And now it like for like for a male. And just look at the average height trend over time. You know where that comes from?
And and again, this is so societal, but are like people who go on diets, who want ideal bodies, their ideal of a body or weight loss or what they want to look like or what they're doing, what their goals are. I even hate talking about this because I just think it's not a good goal, but that's often where people come from. I want to look like this, and that's societal. It's what you see in the magazines and the movies and all that. It's our standard of beauty. Our ancestors did not meet our standard of beauty.
No. And they weren't doing what we're doing. Like they're not living the lives that we're living. They're not exposing themselves to unnecessary stress. They aren't as big as we are, which like the increase in average height, that's nutrition related. That's food access. They're certainly not exercising and
they are not
stressing their bodies out voluntarily. So yeah, it's fallacy. It's built on these lies, these things that are like nice to believe when you're trying to convince yourself and build a narrative. But when you actually are realistic with it, none of it makes any sense.
Yeah.
So like be realistic with yourself and what's driving your opinions and your motivations. I thought it'd be, I had this idea and I'm gonna pitch it here and see if I can get anyone to bite on it. It's a diet. It's an experiment. I don't want to call it a diet because I hate that word.
I actually have a couple clients who do this already.
Okay. They can play. So the experiment, because of the positive data associated with front-loaded eating patterns, and this isn't intermittent fasting, this isn't a feeding window. It just means making breakfast your biggest meal of the day, lunch probably stays the same, and then dinner is the smallest meal of the day. And you can have snacks, whatever your normal snacking routine is. You can keep that, whatever. You do that, but to go a step further, it would be really interesting to see if what it would feel like, and maybe we'll do this too, to eat dinner for breakfast, your regular lunch for lunch, and then breakfast for dinner. So you have you have din fest, you have lunch,
okay,
and then you have brupper.
Okay, I hate those words, but I'll bite. What I like about this is dinner is that one that people get to at the end of the day after a tough day at work and they go, well, what should we have for dinner? First of all, it would start way fewer fights.
Oh, yeah.
Because you just have what you have for breakfast.
You're like,
which
eggs,
for most
homie.
people is the same.
Yeah.
I have the same. It just is a question of how I like my eggs done.
Yep.
And what type of bread I want.
Or
and
oatmeal.
What fruit. Yeah.
So you're having the same.
The selection is so small for
Yeah.
breakfast foods, in my opinion. But dinner,
Din fast.
you can go, the options are endless.
Oh, we want dinner.
Dinner.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. If you're eating dinner in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
first thing, you have to know what you're going to have the night before because it needs to be prepped. And you're not cooking. The idea is you're not cooking dinner in the morning. You're prepping it.
Yeah.
And
or you
for
would
people
have
who
it.
don't like leftovers. I'm sorry, this is probably not going to be your favorite. The way that I pitch this is, because I'm pitching it now, I've stolen it from you.
Okay.
You prepare the dinner the night before, or you do food prep for dinner, which is now breakfast. It's done. You have your usual lunch, which for most people is pretty routine. And then you get to the end of the day and you have breakfast.
Yep.
And it's easy. And then you prepare or you plan the next dinner at breakfast because you haven't had to think about breakfast at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I know this is confusing if I'm using.
But if you're also, because you're preparing your dinner for breakfast, your breakfast that will be dinner food, you can also prepare your lunch food, which could be the same.
Yeah.
You could just eat leftover. You could eat the same thing twice in the day. Or you could maybe stagger and have like what you had for breakfast, dinner, the first meal, on one day, you have a little, you make extra and that's lunch the next day. So same meal prep kind of idea that you would normally do at dinner, but it's flipped.
Yeah. I used to make, when I was, I used to be really busy when I was in school, specifically law school, because I wanted to train for CrossFit and also be in law school. So I didn't have any time for basically prepping food and I needed to eat a lot. I would make a hash at the beginning of the week, Sunday, and I would have it every single day and it would be portioned out and it would be sweet potato, turkey, peppers, mushrooms, onions, and a bunch of different spices like cumin that made it taste delicious. And then if I needed more carbs, I would add rice to it. So that was like dinner food made into a breakfast food for me. It wasn't like full on, I'm not eating a stir fry at breakfast, but it was a similar type. Or my mom who has mashed sweet potatoes and beef for breakfast.
You made me your hash once and that was when I was like, all right, so you're done with cooking. That's not a hash.
Okay, it was my version of a really solid, nutritious, protein-heavy, big-ass breakfast.
Bowl of mixed food.
It worked really well for me for several years, in fact.
Yeah. So you could do something like that. You could also have meals. You could make meals. Like we had chicken stroganoff last night. Amazing.
Yeah.
That can be breakfast. And there are side benefits here. I bet that naturally someone's coffee consumption and caffeine consumption would go down because you want to know what does not go with chicken stroganoff? Coffee.
Okay. So what was wrong with my hash?
It
was dry, but you know me, I like dry food.
You have a tendency to crowd pans.
Oh yeah.
You cook too much food in one pan. Think
about this. 7 giant breakfasts
in one pan. But you're not actually, you're not cooking that from like a culinary standpoint.
Oh no.
You're just steaming everything.
Yeah.
So it's just mush.
It wasn't really
It was mush. You can't argue with that.
I enjoyed it a lot.
A hash,
I think I might go back to that.
A hash, in my opinion, has a little bit of a texture on it. But that's because you have to give a hash space to be a hash.
Okay.
Because if you don't, you're just steaming a bunch of shit into a mushy bowl.
In my defense, and like you guys can reach out if you want this recipe, despite what Meredith says, I would do the sweet potatoes separately in the oven. It was a whole situation.
Doing sweet potatoes in the oven is not a situation.
It was. I had to cut cubes.
I'm going to tell you something.
7 meals worth of cubes every week.
You can cube potatoes all you want. As soon as they go in a container with food that's been steamed, you've steamed the potatoes. So
okay, fine.
It's an irrelevant argument.
At least I didn't have to worry about you eating.
Yeah.
I used to have, how about this? When I was in working, we would barbecue Spalumbo sausages, the chicken ones, and sausage great, chicken better because it's leaner. So you can have more protein with less fat, which is for most people, the ratio of protein to fat can be important depending on what your body composition goals are. So we would do chicken sausages at the beginning of the week. I would slice them all up, separate them into different containers, add rice, and then steam broccoli slaw. And that's what I would have for breakfast every single day.
Yeah, I remember this.
So that's basically a dinner for breakfast too.
Yeah. Try it. Come up with a meal plan. Like seriously, I think doing this if you have the time and you're a curious person, do it for 2 weeks, 10 days to 14 days. Pick your poison. But like plan it out and reverse your meals for the day. Will we do it? We'll do it. We'll make this a thing. We'll call it something.
Every time I think about doing a diet, I'm like, nah, that will impact my life. But I'll do it.
This would be positive.
I still get breakfast. I just have to eat it at the end of the day.
I bet you're going to like this. So 10 to 14 days, you pick. Dinner is the first meal, like a dinner meal. Lunch, whatever. And then breakfast. And see if you don't like it, because I think you'll like it. And I mean, you people, and also you, Alex.
Okay.
We'll try it. I'll handle the cooking and the meal schedule.
Okay.
You handle the grocery shopping. It's going to be really fun.
Here's the thing, though, is like for me, with my diet, it doesn't actually change much.
It's going to be weird to have your rice cakes before bed. That's going to be a big change.
So then you're saying I'm going to have cereal. I'm going to have my Frosted Flakes and my ice cream at 6.
We're reversing.
And then I'm doing beef stroganoff or chicken stroganoff at 9.
Yep.
After I work out. That's not going to go well.
We're going to try it. We're going to do it. It's going to be really fun. I'm looking forward to this. We're going to I got to come up with a name for it. We pitch it. But that's our guide, I think, to not intermittent fasting and doing other bullshit for the internet. Know why you want to. Know where your fascination or interest came from. Spend some time, identify what your desired outcomes are, whether it's health or body related. Ask yourself, what am I doing right now to work on this that is less extreme? If the answer is nothing, which it likely is, do some basic shit for a while. Mm-hmm. Commit to that. Set a physical movement goal as your first goal and let everything else grow from there, and see if you don't start treating yourself a little bit better. And then give it time. Educate yourself on what your needs actually are. Don't be weird about it, and see how well a boring basic approach works, not only in results, but also in how sustainable it feels compared to something like intermittent fasting, which I can tell you 0% of the people I know who've done intermittent fasting are still intermittent fasting. I know a lot of people who've tried it.
I think to sign us off, what I love most is when a client who is having, again, quote, success, says, oh, I met some friends last night for dinner and they were all asking me what I've been doing. And I told them what I've been doing, which is strength training and eating a normal diet, just kind of eating normally. And they're flabbergasted, like cannot believe it.
Yeah.
No, but what are you doing? Because for a lot of people, there's this idea that there needs to be some blanket approach. If you said intermittent fasting, that would make more sense than just eating 3 meals a day.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's support for what we're preaching.
Yeah. And it's not anecdotal. It's well supported by our experience, but also by actual research.
Yes.
All right. Well, if you are, if you're keen on doing our little diet, our little reverse traverse eating week, definitely tag us. We'll do it and see how it goes and let us know how you feel about it. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you and your time and being with us here today. We'll catch you on the next one.